Hello and welcome. You're listening to Start Again with Shauna Lee, the place where you will be reminded that it's never too late and you're never too old to do the damn thing. So stick around if you're ready to vibe higher and be inspired to chase your dreams. Together, we will uncover your soul's truest desires. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Start Again with Shauna Lee. Today, I'm introducing you to my dear friend, Amy. We like to say that we share three things in common: our birthday, we went to high school together, and a divorce attorney.
Shout out, Carolyn.
So today, I wanted to introduce you to Amy, and the reason I brought her onto the podcast, much to her dismay, she's rather reluctantly joining me today. And she's here in person. So this is actually the first time I've done an in-person episode. But the reason I wanted to introduce you to her today is because of her ability to start again and this really cool thing she did after her last divorce. So Amy, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you identify as a Start Again queen?
Woo! All right. So Start Again has been the theme of my life really for the last few years. So, but yeah, as Shauna mentioned, we have been friends for way too many years to mention. And
yes, we're not counting anymore.
No, but she is one of my longest friends. And so she is pushing me out of my comfort zone by doing this. And in return, I made her do it in person. So
yes,
there we go. So how I identify with Start Again Queen is I have been married twice, and I really struggled with finding myself again after that. And not just me, but like who I was deep down and without a relationship. Like I needed to know who that person was. And so that was a whole journey for me. And for a little bit of context too, with the two marriages, you may hear me talk about them very differently because my first marriage, Shauna actually knows him pretty well because we are actually really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
We've worked really hard to get there, but now he comes to all my birthdays and like every ceiling fan light fixture in my house you see, he installed. Like we're good. Second husband is the one that just really rocked my world. And so that one was a very difficult marriage. It was a very difficult divorce. It was a very, very dark time in both of our lives. And it really forced me to look at how I had been living my life in relationships.
So true.
And how that had formed how I'd lived my life, the things that I had been missing out on, the things that I should have made more important to myself. So for clarity, when I talk about my marriages, obviously first husband and I got divorced for reasons, but second marriage is the one that really spurred a lot of this.
And so specifically, what I would love for you to tell people about is what you did after that divorce. And it's called #YearOfAmy. And I think regardless of a divorce or not, I think every woman should do this.
Absolutely. And that's something I'll touch on is that like at the end of that journey, my reflection of that. And it came from that divorce was why I needed the divorce attorney.
Yes. Carolyn's amazing.
Yes. First divorce, like we literally did our own paperwork, hugged in the parking lot, went to the courthouse together, that kind of thing. So second divorce left me reeling. But what I did after that divorce was what I knew. I started dating again.
That's what a lot of people do.
Absolutely. It felt comfortable. It felt like it filled that thing that I had in my life. Even though that husband had been very absent for really the last couple of years of our marriage, I think because of that, I jumped into dating even more. And so jumped right into it, did the apps, did the Bumble, did all the things, which I have completely sworn off now. But I dated, and I dated a couple of nice guys. I'll be honest. I had, and they're good friends of mine now.
Yeah.
But I dated somebody for about 6 months. I felt like it was getting pretty serious. Like we went to Cozumel together and it was really good. And then really out of nowhere, he broke up with me in this very impersonal, hurtful way that just, I don't have the words, but it just so blindsided me. And I just went down this spiral. And I will never forget, actually, the night or the day after he broke up with me, two of my really good friends, who have both been on your podcast, by the way, Jamie and Mary, they came over to my house to like circle the wagons and do the girl thing and let me scream, let me cry. But the thing I remember the most about that night is that Mary brought a bottle of wine, and the name of the bottle of wine was Clean Slate.
Oh, I love it.
And it was very intentional on her part.
Of course it was.
And now that y'all know Mary, you know that, you know. And so after that relationship, I was just left with all these questions of like, why did this hurt me so hard? And why is this like this? So also having a conversation with my best friend, Kara, and I always tell her she's my tough love best friend. Like she is black and white, tells me like it is. And I need that because I'm super emotional.
She's good at that.
Yes. And I love her for that. But one of the things she said to me was, can you be alone? And of course, I immediately was offended by that. I'm like, of course I can be alone. Like, I'm an independent woman. I can do this, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I don't know that you can.
I had people tell me, you need to be alone. And I was offended.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
don't tell me what I need.
Why the fuck do I need to be alone? Right. Like, what value is in that? Right. Until I was alone and realized, oh shit, there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. And I did get initially offended, but there's also very much a part of me that my friends that know me well know that if you tell me I can't do something, watch me prove you wrong.
Yep.
And so
this is a theme of everyone I've spoken to on this podcast, by the way, which I think is amazing. Tell me I can't do something, and then it spurs me on even more.
Yeah. Not only am I going to do that thing, but I'm going to do it like 10 times.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am.
Yep.
So that is where the year of Amy came from. I decided that I was going to devote an entire calendar year to not dating.
Yep.
To saying yes to everything I wanted to say yes to.
Which is amazing.
Yes. And doing all the things that I felt like I wouldn't have done because my husband was holding me back from it. And I did the things. And so I did. I created this whole year out of this. And so it became a year of experiences. And as I was getting ready for this podcast, I went back because I hashtagged everything. So it was fun. It was it reawakened almost some of that in me, which was awesome. And so I was making a list of like all these things I did in the year. And like I was looking at all these pictures and these things. And I'm like, holy crap, I did that.
Yeah. Well, and some of the things you took yourself on solo dates.
Yes. So that was one of the biggest things I started was Amy dates. And not only did I do Amy dates, but so one of the things I missed out on a lot is I love Broadway musicals. And it's always one of those things, for better or for worse, that your girlfriends are like, oh, I would go to that with you.
Yeah.
And then it never comes, right? And my ex-husband would never have done that. Either one of them, actually. But so I was like, I'm going to go to Bass Concert Hall and see all the Broadway shows.
Yep.
And not only that, but I'm going to get the good seats.
Yep.
And I'm going to get myself a glass of wine. So they were Amy dates. Bought myself the wine, bought myself the good seat, saw a good show. And I've continued that. I still do those things.
Yep.
So that was a big one, was starting Amy dates. The other thing I started to do was start the process, the journey of buying my own house.
Oh, yes.
The ultimate independent woman thing, right?
I've done this twice. And it is the most empowering thing for a woman to do, is to say, I did this shit. I bought property by myself.
You bet.
In only my name.
Yes. And one of the side effects of that second divorce was that I was left very financially ruined, for lack of a better word. I basically had to cash out my whole 401k to get us out of debt that had accumulated that I did not know about. So deciding to buy a house on my own was a big decision because I had a really big mountain to climb.
Yep.
And so I started that journey. And that continued through the entire year of Amy. It was a 2-year process. And I'm happy to say that I bought that house 2 years ago. And I call it my no man required house.
Yes. Oh, I like that, actually.
Yeah, no man required house. Other than, again, shout out ex-husband number 1 for putting in all my light fixtures and ceiling fans. And Shauna for painting. So
I did paint several.
You painted a lot.
Several walls.
I look in my bathroom very often and think, how does she do that without tape?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, so that was a journey I started that year. so many concerts.
So many concerts.
So many. And that's one of the things I've continued to. I love
Mhm.
music. I love all music.
Yep.
Any music.
Yep.
And I love it even better live.
Yep.
And so I started to.
I actually see way more concerts because of you.
I would take that as a huge compliment.
Yes. I wouldn't see half the concerts I see if it wasn't for Amy saying, "Hey, let's go."
Well, and you've seen how I act at some of them too. I'm like, peace out. I'm going to the front of the stage.
Yeah. Don't expect her to stay in the seat with you.
No. But I would go by myself even. Like,
Yeah.
if it was somebody I wanted to see, I was going to go see them.
Yes.
And I had a lot of friends go with me, but if they couldn't, I was not going to let that stop me.
Yeah.
Something I didn't do before.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think most women should do that for sure.
Absolutely. Just do it safely. Like, there were definitely some venues where I was like, I should have parked closer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, lessons learned.
Exactly. And then one of the other significant things that year I remember too is that Michelle Obama was doing her book tour.
Oh.
And I went to see Michelle Obama with a good friend of mine, Katie. And I am here to tell you that if I had been married to second husband, that would have probably ended our marriage. Like, we were so incredibly different politically.
Oh, yes.
And
I've been there.
Yes. The word Obama was like,
oh.
You just don't say that. So let alone me being part of like Michelle's tribe that went to go see her.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And
interesting.
It was amazing and liberating. And she's so like, the whole room was love, and it was so inspiring. And
her book is right there on my shelf, and I have not read it yet.
Oh, do it. It's so good.
It's there. I bought it. It's waiting for me just to open it up and read it.
Yes. And funny enough too, in the parking lot that night is the night that I met Jen Hatmaker.
Oh, I didn't realize that was the night.
That was the night. My friend Katie was like, because she wears those hats.
Yes.
And Katie was like, I'm pretty sure that's Jen Hatmaker. And I totally fangirled. Like,
yes.
I was like, so anyway, so it was a remarkable night. But anyway, So all of these things, like, those are the things that I was like, I don't care. If this is something I want to do, I'm going to do.
Yes.
And that was the central focus of that entire year.
Yes.
And
I love it.
It really helped me figure out who I was again.
And so when you look at your story, what part do you think is most inspiring?
When I look at my story, I think like one of the things that I was thinking about on the way over here is that I'm an only child. And so being alone is not something I'm unfamiliar with. Sometimes I prefer it, to be honest.
Yes.
But being lonely is universal.
Yes.
And something everybody deals with very differently. So I think the thing that comes out of this for me is that the ability to recognize what I need, despite what anybody else, their agenda, their whatever. And so what's most inspiring for me anyway is that now I'm able to recognize when I'm feeling those lonely feelings, why? And the question I ask myself all the time now is, okay, Amy, you're feeling really lonely right now. What is it that you haven't done for yourself that is making you feel lonely?
That's so good, because one of the things about me is there's this trend of feeling alone. So I'm a serial monogamist. Like, I have been in, married 3 times, relationship after relationship after relationship. But I have that lonely feeling in relationships. And so being able to realize it's equally important when you're by yourself as in a relationship. But when you're feeling lonely, to be able to self-reflect and know what you need to give yourself. Oftentimes when I'm in a relationship, I want to put that responsibility on the other person,
and
which
the blame.
is so not,
and the blame, which is important.
It's not fair at all.
Yeah.
Because really the answer is to do exactly what you did, which is to say, what do I need to do for myself? And it's amazing.
Well, because my history shows me that when I felt those feelings, I looked to somebody else to satisfy that. And I mean, we can go into all sorts of daddy issues. I mean, we have those conversations. I definitely worked through a lot of counseling in my daddy issues.
Oh my gosh, everyone needs to be in therapy.
I am a proponent. I've done that many times. But so those things started early for me, right? Like, I was like, oh, I need somebody to fill this for me. But now when I really level set and started over with myself, that start again queen, right? Is I'm feeling that thing. So what is it that I haven't done for myself that can take away that feeling?
Yep.
And that is
So good.
do the concerts, do the dates, do the things. My birthday that year was epic.
Which year was that?
2019.
Okay.
I decided, I mean, Sean and I both, we do birthdays.
I'm like, hold on, was I at this birthday? Because it was also my birthday.
Right. And you weren't. That's one of the amazing things to me is that you weren't there. There was a reason you were out of town, or there was some reason, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't remember where I was in my life at that point, but
yeah, it was, I always do birthdays big, but this one I had 10 days of birthday fun. It was epic.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, in my family, I've been doing some reflecting as well, because birthdays are a big deal to me. And I've realized they're not for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
To a lot of people, it's just another day. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? This does not compute. These words you just said to me.
No.
In my family, they're a really big deal. In fact, well, and I was trying to figure out why, because I grew up very poor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, it's not like we did big celebrations or anything like that. But every June 1st, everyone in my family will say, Happy birthday month. We celebrate the whole month. And it's not even that we do the big celebrations or go to dinners or whatever. We just recognize that it's our birthday month. And
same.
I just, why doesn't everyone do this? June is the best month ever.
Do you know that I have had friends even recently who, because when I hear it's their birthday, I'm like, well, what are we doing?
Yes.
No. And I'm like, no, I will take care of this.
Yes.
And I have had friends that have said, I probably wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
But you kind of made me, and I'm glad you did.
Yes.
Birthdays are a thing.
They are a thing.
And they should be, because that's a celebration of you.
Correct. And maybe that's what makes people uncomfortable.
Sure.
And a lot of people also are like, oh God, and now I'm old. I'm this many. And I'm like, no. Shift that dumb story around.
Yeah.
You got another year. Like, how amazing is that? Yeah. Another trip around the sun. Anyways.
Well, and that whole age thing, like, and I remember talking to you about this actually, is that after my second divorce, like during that marriage, we struggled with significant life events. I mean, a very tragic death of his father, and fertility issues, and treatments, and financial, and all those things. And I remember after divorce, I remember saying to you, I was like, I just never thought that I would be divorced twice in my 40s and no kids. And I remember I don't remember what you said, but it was how you said it. And you basically were like, stop that right now. Like, that's not who you are. That's what you've been through.
Correct.
And those are different things. Yep. And that was another theme of the whole year of Amy. I'm like, that's who I was.
Yep.
This is what I can make of it.
Yeah. A lot of people want to think that divorce defines them and it means something about them. And it just doesn't.
No. And not having children was a big one too. You know, I cannot tell you how many people said to me, well, thank God you didn't have kids with him.
Oh, I'm sure that was just like a dagger to
I'm just here to tell everybody listening right now, don't ever say that to anybody.
Yeah.
You don't know their journey.
Nope.
It could have been their decision, but it wasn't my decision.
Yep.
And so those things were difficult because they made me feel like that was my identity.
Yep.
No kids, 40s, divorce.
Yes.
But now those are like badges of honor for me at this point.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do.
That.
So yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what the answer to this question is going to be, but maybe not specific to the Year of Amy journey, but what do you think was the most surprising challenge you faced on this journey of becoming who you are now, and how did you overcome it?
I think it was the realization of how much I really depended on other people to make me happy.
Oh, wow.
And whether that was a mate or a friend or my parents or my coworkers, like that was the big thing in realizing that that's where I was finding my worth.
Oh, yeah.
And my comfort and my happiness. And so the way I really overcame that was putting on my big girl panties, right? And just being like, you are a good person.
Yep.
You're a good friend.
Yep.
You're a good daughter. Like, you have all these things that make you worthy of all these things that you don't need to look at other people for.
Yep.
And so embrace that. And that has, I mean, I've never considered myself a shrinking violet. Like, that's not my personality. But in many ways, those things, those badges of honor that I call them now, had made me a streaking violet.
Yep.
So what I did with that was finding those things within me.
Yep.
And I don't remember the question you just asked me, but
No, that was perfect. I love that.
Well, and I think because of that too, I am a better friend and a better daughter and a better coworker.
Yes.
You know, all of those things. And definitely one of the things that came out of that year of Amy was, I referred earlier to that circling of the wagons.
Mhm.
Like, my tribe is strong.
Mm-hmm. So, and this brought up two things for me, but we'll see if I remember them both. But the first one is this circling of the wagons. So I'm recording my audio book, and I'm reading my book again out loud. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Why anybody wants to hear me read this book, I have no idea. But here we are. But in the book, I talk about this concept of elephants and what they do when the mother elephant is giving birth, and all of the female elephants circle around her. And, you know, initially it's this protection while she's vulnerable and actually birthing the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment the baby is born, it turns into like this celebration circle, and they're like, you know, trumpeting and doing all the things. And I don't remember where I heard this, but I'm like, that is what we need to do as females.
Sure.
And so this circling of the wagons to me was like bringing up that image again. And I don't remember what the other thing I was going to say was, but
well, it just really makes you realize you're people.
Well, and the other thing I remember, it came back. It makes you remember who your people, like, you need to allow yourself to be vulnerable in those moments and let your friends circle you. But it also gives you the opportunity to do that for your friends, right?
You bet.
The beautiful thing about that is that we take turns,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not the same person in the middle of the circle all the time. I've been in some situations where there was one person who wanted to always be in the circle, and it's like, no, you have to step out of the middle sometimes and be that for other people as well.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was thinking was this whole idea of finding that within yourself and filling the need yourself, is that you're filling your cup, because there's that phrase, you know, you can't fill from an empty cup, but you can't show up for your people unless you've filled yourself first, which is exactly what you learned to do, which is amazing.
And you can drain those relationships by going to them for that all the time.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that damages both of you.
Yep.
And so when you're always the person that has to give that to somebody,
it does get exhausting.
It's very exhausting.
Yeah. It definitely needs to be a give and take and a balance.
Well, and the balance too, like when you were talking about the elephants, it gave me another mental image too and I think we talked about this when we've been at the beach or coastal places or whatever, and have seen birds and how they fly in their formation. Like, to me, that's one of the most beautiful pictures of teamwork, but also, so the whole thing with them is when they're flying in their triangles, like pelicans or seagulls or ducks or any of them, you'll watch the lead falls back and somebody else takes over. And they constantly do that. It's this really beautiful rhythm of exchanging who is the leader. And it's because the leader needs a break.
Yeah.
Right. And so, excuse me. So the leader will fall back and somebody else will take over for a while. But there's never any struggle or like balance for power. It's their rhythm. And with your friends, you get into that rhythm.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So then what advice would you give to the younger you? Knowing all that you know now.
Slow your roll.
That's a good one.
I mean, take that moment, hear the thoughts, and again, I mentioned daddy issues. Like, we kind of joke about that phrase, but it's a thing. It's a real thing.
Of course it is.
It's a real thing. And look at where those things come from. And so, I mean, I came from a divorced family, and my relationship with that birth father was not good. And by my own decision, I cut off that relationship. And I should say now, my mom remarried many years ago, and my stepdad is amazing, and who is my dad. But all of that to say, I had to go through some really intense counseling to figure that out. So I would say, slow your roll.
Yep.
Take that beat, but also look at your influences and where are you pulling those things from, right? And don't find your identity in relationships.
Yep.
Because that is a theme of a large portion of my life. And so the need for the year of Amy came from my need of, like, who am I?
Who the hell am I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that year of Amy too, like I see so many things that have continued in my life too. And so those are not really the answer to the question that you just asked me.
No, it is actually. It's totally the answer. But I think, and it's also a chapter in my book is all about finding yourself. Like after divorce, it's so important to sit down and do this assessment of what the hell do I like? Who am I not being married?
Yeah.
Like, because I see so many women lose themselves to motherhood and in a marriage or any relationship for that matter, that it is important for us to take a minute and say, who am I? What do I like?
Yeah.
What's important to me? And also the most beautiful part of that phase, I think, is that you get to fucking make a different decision.
Yeah.
You can decide, oh, I've never gone skydiving and that's what I want to do. For the record, I don't want to do that. That sounds terrifying.
Oh, I do. Sign me
but
up.
like you could decide that you do new things as a part of this. Like it's not only remembering who you are and how you lost yourself, but remembering or realizing where you want to go next, which I didn't even know I was doing that, but that's an excellent segue. Where are you going next? Where are you going from here?
Well, and one of the things I wanted to say too, I think everybody should decide to do this, even if you don't proclaim it.
Right.
You should make the decision. But one of the important lessons for me, and one that I would encourage everybody to do, is make this commitment, but then it should not just be a year.
Correct.
And that is what it did for me. This year set me up to be and do those things, right? And so I was looking at all the things and like how I see it following and continuing is that I mentioned my No Man Required house. Like I'm celebrating 2 years in that this weekend.
I like that you call it No Man Required because I bought this house. This is my second single mama house is what I call them. But I sort of, without realizing, set the intention that no man would ever live here with me, which now when I find myself in a relationship is a little tricky because now I'm like, oh, I'm having to reset some of those intentions. I like that you said no man required.
Yeah.
But there's one that could potentially be included.
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast thing for me. I'm not there yet.
But you didn't set the intention that I did.
And I didn't need a man to get the house was my thing. So the other thing is I pay for the upgrades now. I get the good seats at the concerts and the shows.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I get the first class airplane tickets when I can afford it.
Yes.
I do those things because why not?
Yes, I've definitely been held back from certain things in past relationships. And now I'm like, I fucking deserve the nice things.
Yeah.
There was something the other day, I don't remember. Dan was saying something and I, of course, wanted whatever the thing was that I said I wanted. And he was like, you just added $40,000 to whatever that thing is. And I was like, have you met me?
Right.
Why is this still a surprise to you?
Right, totally. Well, and I also say too, like, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but don't miss out on something because nobody else wants to go with you. Right.
That's a really good one.
Travel by yourself, go to events by yourself. One of the things I bought during the year of Amy were these tickets. There's this jazz trumpet player that I adore named Chris Bodie. Nobody else in my life likes him or really knows anything about him. He's amazeballs.
Yes.
And he was coming to the Paramount. And so I bought 4th row tickets for that show for just me.
That's amazing.
And it was a beautiful night of music. And I would have missed it.
When you buy just one ticket, you can get closer.
So I do that. I say do those things. I have so much more fun when I'm out now because I really don't care about what other people think anymore. When I'm with my people, that's all that matters to me. I'm not worried about that guy down the bar or the girl who's cuter, skinnier, younger, blah, blah, blah than me.
Blah, blah, blah.
I don't care. I don't care. So it's made me a more fun person because of that, because I've let all of that go.
Yeah.
And then I just think that, like I said, it really helped me identify things in my life. So where I'm going from here is I'm taking all those things that I got out of that year and making it the theme for my life.
I love it.
And so, which kind of leads me, I told you I found this when I was doing my research, but I was looking back at all of the Facebook posts and things that I did from that year. And in December of that year, I did like a reflection, right? And so I even created this funny little, not funny, but like flashback video thing. And I was sitting there watching it this morning going, man, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
That's
and
awesome.
So I printed out what I wrote, and it's real short, but it really, I think it hit home for me. But it said, today marks the end of what I called the year of Amy. It was the year that I chose to put myself first after years of relationships that had put me last. I said no to dating, no to toxicity, and worrying about people's opinions of me. I said yes to friends, dessert, trips, and Amy dates. There were certainly some low points. Some of them were my fault, some not. Others were just part of life. But so many people took this ride with me and supported my decision to celebrate me. And I hope that you know who you are. I made some new friends, strengthened existing relationships, and learned who was in it for the long haul. I learned a lot about myself, the strength that I possess, and the love that I have to give. However, the main thing I learned is that every year should be a year of Amy.
That gave me chills. I love that. That is so perfect. And I think one of the things you said was that you're a fun person. And I agree. I have lots of fun when we hang out together. And so I think people will probably want to follow you on this journey moving forward. So how can people find you?
Oh boy. I mean, I don't know. I was thinking about that. I mean, I'm just a normal person on Facebook, but I do have fun and I do have great friends. And you're likely to see Shauna in a lot of my pictures. So that may be another reason to follow me. But so yeah, I'm pretty active on Facebook.
Okay. I will include the link for everyone. Okay. Thank you for doing this. Look, you did it.
I know. And we're in person staring at each other right now. How does that feel for you first time?
It's a little strange, but it's good because sometimes it's missing the human element when you're trying to make a connection over Zoom. So
I'm on Zoom all day long. Yeah. And another start over queen thing for Zoom is I just accepted a job to work for them, which is something Shauna's been encouraging me. And it's been a long process and manifesting and doing all the woo-woo stuff that Shauna does.
Manifested the job you wanted.
I did.
With more money.
Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. So yes.
Listen, that is amazing. Congratulations on that. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you for making me do this.
Anytime. Okay, listen. Are you struggling to find what your true purpose really is? You should try journaling. At the very least, it will get you to a better feeling place than where you are right now. I've created a set of journal prompts to get you on your way to discovering who you truly are and where you want to go from here. My free download is called Journal Yourself to Joy, and it's available at shaunalee.com under Free Stuff. These are my tried and true journal prompts that will raise your energy, increase your positivity, and brighten your day. Download yours today.